go. I just needed to go live. I hadn't pressed the live button. Okay, we're live.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. I'm going to let you run this thing now, okay?
Well, did you have the technology to set it all up? Because, yeah, fun stuff. Woo! That was like a little adrenaline rush.
Yeah, seriously.
So I am going to, sorry, it said I was on a different browser and it didn't like it. So I am going to just see if anybody has any questions over, because I just dropped the links over at the other, where we were hanging out. Oh, hey, if you don't mind, can you do the tag in your post to my page and not my...
Yes. Oh, to your page and not your name?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. I got to figure that out. Let's
Of course.
see. How do I do that? Because your name came up, but not your... How do I tag you? I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. If you do at Sarah MCDU, if you've ever liked my page, it should work.
Okay.
You have to actually do the @ though and type out my name.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going to...
Lands. I got the wiry white ones sticking up today. Oh my.
Okay. There we go. Edit post. Sarah. All I'm getting is Sarah Mack coming up. I'm not getting any other Sarahs.
Okay. Well, then don't worry about it.
I can spell it out. Is it Sarah M-A-C?
Oh, that's why. It's MCD.
Oh, MC.
MCD. No A.
It's still not coming up. So MCD.
UG.
UG. Oh, yeah. Now you're coming up.
There you go. No worries.
Oh, except that, oh yeah, it did take it. Okay, so that's my page. Now I got to go to my, I'm going to go to my page now, or my profile. And
okay.
Change it on there as well. So.
Oh, thanks.
Well, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I just need to do it on one thing. Do I just need to tag you?
You do it on the main one. If you shared it elsewhere from that one, then it changes it everywhere.
Oh, I didn't. I did them individually. Okay. I'm just going to, I know.
No worries.
But yeah, I'm not. So I have Crowdcast, but other than that, I'm completely inept.
It's all good. You are a step ahead of me as far as Crowdcast is concerned. So I'm going to have to check into this. And I wonder, what I wish is that we could live stream to... No, not screen share. I don't want to change the camera. I don't want to do any of those things. So this is all new software to me. So I am going to have to play with it later and figure things out.
Yeah, you can't really do much. I mean, everything has to be here. I don't think you can share on Facebook or anything. Maybe you can. I don't know.
But you said you can record it, right?
Yes, it is recording right now. So I will send you. I'll send you the download later.
We're getting all the cool stuff. It's all good. Okay, so
first of all, happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you know what? My son brought this to me. He's not supposed to come back in my office when he knows that I'm going to be doing calls. And it's probably flipped backward.
No, it's not. It looks great.
Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. But yeah, it's a bunch of birthday balloons. Happy birthday, Mom. I was just like, oh. He's like, I'm sorry I disturbed you. I said, no, it's okay. You can do that for birthday drawings.
Okay, I can tell you something though. My voice is echoing now, so I think you do have to be plugged in.
Okay.
That's going to show up on video.
Hold on. Let me do that. And so much fun. All right. I'm going to do this. Does this work?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
I can. It's all good now. It's perfect.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. Now it's really loud in my ears.
Oh,
So
dear.
we're good. No, it's fine because I had it turned up for me to hear it out of the computer speakers. And then in my ears, it was just like full blast.
All right.
So, okay. All right. So I want to thank you for being willing to do this interview with me. And
5 hours later.
and for sticking with me through all of the technology crazy. But, you know, I have to tell you, Natalie, I actually kind of, I think we all have, all of us who work in the area of work that we work in, all have people who like low-key lurk and they never comment on anything and they never say anything, but they're reading what goes out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually did that to you for a few years.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
So I
don't.
Back when it was Visionary Womanhood?
Yes, I remember your Visionary Womanhood posts. So, and then it was Flying Free Now for a while, and now you just have the plain Flying Free. I like you dropped the word now, right?
Well, it's Flying Free, but I couldn't get the URL. I couldn't get the domain for that, so it's Flying Free Now. That was
on the website.
Yeah, but I call the website is Flying Free. It was Emotional Abuse Survivor for about 9 months. But that was too obvious. People couldn't share those kinds of posts. Like, here, let me share a post from Emotional Abuse Survivor. Nobody's going to do that.
I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to do that.
Exactly.
I just don't get that.
Someone pointed that out to me. And, it was like, I have to learn the hard way. It's just the way I am.
It's all right. But yeah, I remember following. I don't know when I first started following your stuff. I don't know when I first stumbled onto it, but I remember probably following the Visionary Womanhood stuff back when I was more living in a headship kind of model home. Mm-hmm. And like Visionary Womanhood was like something that sounded like it was something I needed to be, So anyway. Yeah, back in the days. So I had to start by telling you that I have been familiar with your stuff for a very long time, but it's only been in the last year or two that we've connected, mm-hmm. or just maybe even just the last year that we've connected as colleagues. And I want to thank you though for what you do and for what you continue to do. And I am just very, very glad for all the women who have gone before and the women who are in the trenches now that are helping the women who come behind. It's a special kind of tribe community.
It is. And right back at you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So it's an honor. I have not gotten to read all of Is It Me yet, but I've read enough to know that I love it and am really excited to recommend it to others. And I've had several tell me that they've already ordered it. So I hope that it's getting good traction on Amazon because you deserve it. But, I wanted to, because I may be introducing you to new listeners, new followers who haven't heard of your stuff before. So I was wondering if you could tell me what prompted you to write Is It Me? You've been blogging and you've been doing social media stuff, and I'm sure I don't even begin to know the rest of the scope of what you do, just like most people don't know the scope of what I do, and all of us, we have like this slice that people know about, and then there's like the iceberg behind the scenes of what we really spend our days doing, helping and working with people. But what prompted you to write Is It Me?
Is It Me is the book that I wish that I had in my hands probably 6 years ago. And, I have read over 200 books and resources over the past 6 or 7 years. And, the missing piece for me, though, was drawing the connections between emotional and spiritual abuse and the theology that a lot of us that are, because I've noticed that people in my group and people that are readers of mine, they are all coming out of this really patriarchal culture that I was steeped in, that I promoted in my Visionary Womanhood blog and everything. And yet that theology that really, what it boils down to, if you were just going to boil it down to the very, essence, is a power over structure where men are in power over women. And I know that's a simplified view of it. It's more complicated than that, or more complex than that. But again, we're just boiling it down to the bare bones. And what I wanted to do with this book is draw a connection between emotional and spiritual abuse and that theology, so that people could see, because what was happening is so many of the women that I was talking to, they could finally recognize, okay, yeah, I believe I'm in an emotionally abusive marriage, but I can't leave because I'm a Christian. And as a Christian, God wants me to be in a power under position. Like, that's my job. That's my role. That's my identity as a female follower of Jesus Christ. And that is a lie from the pit of hell. And that lie is keeping so many women stuck. Now, some women are stuck in their relationship because they've got kids and they have no money, and there are logistical reasons why they can't get out. There could be any number of logistical reasons why a woman would not be able to get out of her relationship at this time. But I wanted them to be able to know that you may not be able to get out tomorrow, but please don't let God be the reason why you can't get out down the road when those doors of opportunity open up for you. And also, don't feel like God is the one that is keeping you back from being yourself, from becoming who you are. Because in an emotionally abusive marriage, you can't be yourself. You have to be the person that your abuser defines you.
Has decided for you to be.
Exactly. And that is, it's so destructive on so many levels. It's destructive to the people in the home, but it's also destructive to the Church of Jesus Christ, because it's cutting off at the knees half of the Church of Jesus Christ. If you want to look at the more, the bigger global picture.
Right.
So,
well, I appreciate how you have it purposefully, intentionally. I've got so many words, all 4-syllable words stumbling around in my head, and I have to pick one. I love how you were on purpose about bringing those links together. I think before Is It Me, the only book that I had read that really addressed that was Black and White Bible, Black and Blue Wife.
And I don't know if you've read that. No, not yet.
It's good, by Ruth Tucker. So she has published 25 different books. I mean, theology books, and she's a seminary professor, and she was being abused at home. Wow. She would go to the university and teach theology and church history and come home, and was living in a cycle of abuse, and very much under John Piper's kind of perspectives with the headship theology. And so she is the first book, and Is It Me is the second book, which means there is an incredible void in addressing this, because I read voraciously on these kinds of topics. And if I've only stumbled on 2 books and one of them just came out, that just means there's this black hole when it comes to understanding the theology that drives abusive environments. And, you said something key, that you were talking about keeping women in a position of power under, because of that warped, unscriptural concept of submission and what that's supposed to look like. And I'm not a big fan of when other people are like, oh, well, let's figure out the abuser too. I'm very much a proponent of working with the victim who needs rescuing, as opposed to trying to sort out the 1001 ways that a sociopath might invent to continue abusing. Because there's just as many of those as there are ways to breathe,
Well, and you know what else? Here's the thing.
But go ahead.
Here's the thing. How can you work to change someone who doesn't believe they need to change?
You can't.
So why would you not? You've got 2 people here. One that says, I don't need to change. One that says, what can I do to change? Which one is it? It's only makes sense it's insane to say, oh, let's set aside the one who wants to change and let's focus on the one who doesn't want to change and force him to want to change. Can't do that.
Right. And I don't know if you follow any of Psalm 82 Initiative stuff, but they recently posted a meme. You know, isn't it Van Gogh that has that horrible painting, The Scream, that's like,
yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about? So they posted a meme with then, like, I think it had Van Gogh's screen painting behind it. And it said something, I should actually just look it up, but it said basically, hey, pastors, you cannot fix his problems by counseling her. Yeah. The end. Like, you just can't do it. But here's what I was going to say before. And that is, when we talk about, because I know that somewhere out there, there's going to be some guys listening to this and they don't understand the theology they bought into and they don't understand where it leads. And they're going to be like, but why don't you want to help the men? And so it isn't about that, not wanting to help men. And it isn't about only wanting to help women. I just want to kind of throw that out there for everybody who wants to latch onto something and twist it. But here's the thing. Because there's always those people, and I feel like I have to like forestall it with diplomatic comments instead of just stating what I think. And you know what? Probably some of that is my old conditioning, because I always felt like I had to justify everything. I had to like make sure that it was worthy of someone's opinion, and I had to give a dozen reasons. And it gets really old, so I'm trying to decondition myself from that. That's a work in progress. But so here's my point. Now that I've looped that tree a few times, here's my point. That kind of theology, that unbiblical theology, keeps women in bondage, but it also keeps men in bondage too.
Yeah.
So for all the good men who are trying to figure out why we're talking about this theology and like, what's the big deal with that? Here's the big deal and why it's so bad for men too. Because that kind of theology keeps men in bondage to repeating the character traits of Lucifer over and over and over again. So you cannot live and lead like Christ lives and leads and loves when you are taking a position of power over anyone else.
Amen.
So if your theology is telling you as a man, because of your gender, that you have a right to power over someone else, your theology is from Satan. Yep. Because it's teaching you to reenact the character traits of power over and of grasping and of dominance and coercion and of self-aggrandizement and self-gratification that are purely the traits of the enemy.
Yep.
And if your theology is telling you that women need to let you and encourage you to be like Lucifer, then you are in bondage to your theology as a man, and you need freedom too.
Yep, exactly. Amen. That's so true.
So there's some good guys who just have swallowed into that, and they aren't really abusive people. Right. And they're just thinking, what's the big deal? Because they've been conditioned by it. And they need to hear that.
Yeah, very good. I love that. Yay!
Woo! We could preach. We can preach.
That's right. That's another topic for another time.
Word. Word. We might need a little more preparation on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so who is your target audience?
It's women of faith in destructive marriage relationships.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a side question, because I know someone mentioned to me in one of the support groups that we were both in that your stuff is specifically for those coming out of patriarchal. It's like not specifically for, but it's exceptionally useful.
Yeah.
Compared to some others for those coming out of a patriarchal, really heavy patriarchy.
Yeah.
What about daughters in patriarchy?
Oh, well, they could apply everything to themselves as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I'm not talking, I believe that parents need to be, well, but I think the job of parents is to train our children to grow up and take responsibility for their own houses and yards. You know what I mean? Boundaries. Mm-hmm. And so as we're doing that, we help them along. So we teach them
Right.
how to mow the lawn. This is all figuratively speaking, okay? Take care of
Right,
your house
right.
and yard. That means take care of yourself. You take responsibility for yourself. But sometimes when you're training someone, you help them to learn how to mow the lawn. You help them to learn how to do the dishes. But then when they're an adult, hopefully they're mowing their own lawn and doing their own dishes, right? So that's our job as adults. But so I'm not talking about, kids, they can just have a free for all and they don't have to, you're not in power over your kids.
Mhm.
But you're old, but as your kids get older and they're teenagers and you're giving them more freedoms, and this whole idea that daughters are somehow supposed to continue to have someone else, be responsible for their lives
under someone else.
Exactly.
Okay, let's just say you have a 30-year-old daughter. And because of an abusive past relationship, she's also a mother, but she's back living at home. And she's being told that she needs to have, because she's not married, she needs to have her father make her financial decisions, decide what job she can take. She's 30 and she's a mother.
Yeah.
How do you apply these kind of principles to someone in that situation?
I would say that, well, first of all, if she's living at home, there are going to be so the people who own the home, her parents, they have their boundaries to maintain, and there might be home rules, like they might.
I'm not talking about home rules. She wants to move out.
Oh, well, as long as.
Unless daddy approves her budget, approves her job.
Yeah. No, she needs to get out of there faster than she thinks she needs to get out of there. Because because at the end of the day, here's the thing, at the end of the day, they're not responsible before God for her. She's responsible before God for her. And so she's got to, we need to put on our big girl pants and get, and live our lives. Our parents can't live our lives for us, and they're not responsible for us. They're responsible for their big girl and big boy lives, and we are responsible for our big girl lives. So if parents are trying to control you, there's a lot of controlling people out there. They might be parents, they might be brothers and sisters, they might be aunts and uncles, they might be grandpas and grandmas, they might be a pastor or
bosses
or bosses. Exactly. But and I think it's good to get input from people, okay, I'll listen to your opinion, but at the end of the day, I get to decide what I'm going to do for my life before God, because I answer to God.
Yes.
So I'm not talking about rebellious autonomy. Okay. If we're answering to God and we're doing what we believe God wants us to do, then it's not really anybody else's responsibility or right to come in and say, oh no, I am going to tell you what God wants you to do. It doesn't work it doesn't work that way.
I agree. So here's a question I get often. It's like, you don't like an abuse victim. Like, it's really hard to imagine you being anybody's victim. And because I speak and I talk and I write and I'm going about things. And I think you come across that way too. You confident and self-assured and articulate and opinionated, and I mean all of those as massive compliments. I don't think opinionated is a bad thing. I mean, when my kids are super opinionated, it drives me nuts a little bit, but they're going to change the world if I can keep them alive that long. So,
exactly.
So when you look back at the arc of your story, what is it? Yeah. And I see a comment that just said, someone else says that they've had people tell them that they don't think she could have been abused because she's strong. Like, how could you? You're not cowering. So how can you have been abused? So what is it in the aspects of your journey that drove you to become an advocate? And that still is one of the things that fuels your courage to speak out?
It's just my personality. I've always wanted to be used by God you know, I mean, when I was really little, I wanted to be a missionary. I wanted to be,
too.
yeah. It's like, I just wanted to live my life and influence as many people as I could in my own little circles for Jesus Christ. However that was. So in high school, I told everyone I knew about Jesus. At a Christian college, I got involved in things that I could, you know, disciple women. I was in full-time ministry for several years, discipling women. So discipleship and evangelism have been a big part of my life. So, and you know, when I had the Visionary Womanhood blog, there I was just taking what I truly, sincerely believed was God's plan for women, because I'd been steeped in it my whole life.
Right.
And I was just trying to encourage other women to find their way, or find their place in that plan, and to find joy. I was trying to find joy and fulfillment in that, and I wanted to help other women do the same. So when I finally realized this is not right, you know, and again, it's a long process of realizing all of that, but then it just naturally, obviously, as I changed, I naturally started sharing then with other people on my blog. I mean, you maybe saw some of that transformation as I went from...
I think I remember some of that.
Yeah. And then I realized, finally, I woke up one day and realized I've got the wrong blog. Like, the blog I'm writing is not the blog I need to be writing anymore. And I need to help women. I finally got out. I need to help women get out too, because, the transformation in my life was so huge, and so, my relationship with God changed. My relationship with other people changed. Basically, I lost a lot of relationships, but it was so good. It was so good, because then I had room in my life to make different relationships that were healthier, that were grounded on more of the direction that I was going. And I just wanted that for other women. So that's why I just started doing that then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, I can relate so much. It's funny because I was isolated from a lot of friendships and relationships prior.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that in transitioning to newer relationships and a social circle, and that for several years, I not only met new people, I also reconnected with very, very old people.
Yes.
From years prior that I'd been isolated from during certain seasons. And the funny thing is, I remember someone telling me that part of the gaslighting was that my friends wouldn't ever, back in that certain season, was that my friends wouldn't tell me what they really thought. Like, and now I have a circle of friends that I would die for and would die for me. And they give the most hearty pushback. I mean, when we get together and we disagree on stuff, we are not like a circle. And I guess I was thinking of how much more low conflict my life is now.
Yeah.
And how much peace that brings. But it is not because we all agree on things.
Yeah.
It's because we all respect each other.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to, that was my mental point. And it took me a bit to get there. But like,
so good.
Isn't it though?
Yes.
It's so low drama and low conflict, but not because everybody's yes men and there's like one dictator. It's because we all respect you. You do your thing. I do mine. We meet on the common ground. And sometimes we passionately disagree about stuff, but the relationships are big enough to handle that.
Yep.
And this is even just with female friendships. It's just so much healthier where you can just like go at it on a topic and none of it's personal.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. That's such a great point. Lots of really golden nuggets here. I'm getting from you. I love it.
I love what you're sharing too. I love how you've described your journey. And that leads me really to my next question. And that, oh, wow. Do you see the comments popping up on your side too?
Yeah.
I heard no one actually likes you. No one will treat you any better than me. And I decided I was just fine with that and would be alone. Okay. And that was the case.
Plus,
Yes,
that's such a lie. They're such liars.
Such a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know better because I know that girl and she's awesome.
Oh.
But here, my next question for you is, if you could think of one that might have been the most difficult or most life-changing lesson that you learned, something that stands out, either because it was painful and hard or because it was just transformational, as you began changing how you thought when you realized you were living in abuse, and that's what this is called. Like, what is a lesson or a story that stands out?
Yeah, I think the biggest transformation for me was that prior to my going through all of this, I was a people pleaser, and people were big and God was small. I mean, he wasn't. He was everything to me. But I also just really wanted people to like me, and I just really wanted people to be proud of me and to be, to think that I was a good Christian. And, and of course, when you go through something like this, nobody is proud of you or thinks you're a good Christian. It's the exact opposite. They think that you're, Jezebel, and they think you're rebellious. And I had one elder tell me I didn't know God. And it was the most devastating experience. I had grown up in the church. I grew up in a really wonderful church, actually. And I had such a wonderful childhood background with church and my pastor and church people. And so I just felt so betrayed by my people, by people that I thought cared about me and loved me. I had invested in their lives. I cared about them and loved them. And I just felt like, but they didn't want me to, it was kind of like, I felt like they were saying, we love you as long as you do what we tell you to do, but we get to decide what you do. You don't get to decide.
That doesn't sound abusive at all.
Exactly. And okay, so I think what I had to do too is, and I always thought that sticking up for yourself or advocating for yourself was selfish and unchristian. And so I had to say, you know what? I'm not going to look at all of these other people and take their opinions anymore. I'm going to look to God only for direction. And I'm going to quit throwing myself under the bus in order to please everybody else. And I remember
that's a great visual.
I remember looking at myself in the mirror one day, and I had been ugly crying. Okay, so there's like snot running down my nose, and my nose was like this big and red. And I looked in the mirror and I said, I am never, ever, I am going to throw you under the bus again. I'm going to stick up for you. I am on your side. And you know what? That was like a pivotal point in my life. I haven't thrown myself under the bus since then.
Wow.
And it's okay if someone, I stick up for myself, and if someone doesn't like that, they don't like it. That's okay. Because here's the other thing. Here's the other really, really important thing. I had to learn boundaries. I had to learn to be okay with, I had to respect my ex-husband's boundaries that he didn't want to change. It wasn't so here I had been trying to change him so that we could have a good marriage. And the fact of the matter was, he wasn't interested in changing. And I needed to let him be who he was. And then I needed to say, okay, you can be that way. I can't live with that. I can't live with that because that violates my boundaries. What you're doing is harming me. It's destroying my life. So I'm going to let you go, cut you loose. And this was, when I talk about this, I make it sound like it's so easy. It was 2 years of bawling, going on medication, being depressed, the whole 9 yards. So it's not an easy thing, but I had to cut him loose. And then I had to look at my boundaries and stop letting everybody come into my house and yard, figuratively speaking again, and rearrange my rose garden, or, do my dishes for me, or spread mud all over my house and tell me, well, I have a right to do this because I'm your authority. What?
Right.
No, you don't.
Right. the folks over at Psalm 82 Initiative say that abusers look for controlling women. And the first time I heard them say that, I was like, hold the phone. No, they don't. I am not a controlling person. I want you to take care of your responsibility. I want to be free to take care of mine. And they're like, just calm down. Because, I'm like getting ready to spit nails here. I think abusers target people who have empathy and kindness and strength and all of the qualities they don't have. And they were like, just wait. A woman who is so passionate about doing right that she will take on the burden of making sure everyone around her does right is a type of control that an abuser can exploit to kingdom come.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because they're letting you carry all their luggage, take all the responsibility for them.
Yeah.
And they're counting on you to be there to try to fix them.
Yep.
Because that's how they control you.
Yep.
Around and around and around that circle. Your desire to make it good is expressed in trying to help them grow, praying for them, with them, being supportive, trying to rearrange everything in your life to keep from triggering them, etc., etc. That's how they keep in control of you, because they keep you scrambling and scattered to control them. And I was like, oh, okay. So from that perspective, then yes, I guess. I don't like anyone calling abuse victims controlling just by generic default. Mm-hmm. But from that perspective, it's a solid point.
Yeah.
Because then you're their white knight.
Another thing, another spin-off off of that is, because one of the things that I was accused of is being controlling when I was trying to get out of the relationship, that I was trying to manage everything. But I would say, I would have to say that, yes, I'm finally taking control of my life, because it's not because he doesn't have a right to control my life. My church doesn't have a right to control my life. My friends don't have a right to control my life. If everyone just controlled their own lives, had self-control, this world, well, we'd be in heaven. Think about it.
If we all had sanctified consciences and we were taking care of our own baggage, we'd be in heaven.
Exactly. So I was trying to do that. And instead of, my religious community, instead of actually empowering me to do that, they were actually cutting me off at the knees and saying, oh, no, you don't have, they were trying to keep me in this infantile state where I was.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
It's like, can I not, here I was, I'm like, I'm 49 years old. When do I get to be a grown up, for crying out loud?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember, I know of lots of cases. I won't isolate anything in particular, but just the kind of thing where someone may get caught doing wrong. Let's say an abusive person gets caught doing something pretty egregious. And so they submit to accountability, and they give their abuse victim, as part of their apology cycle, they're like, oh, well, would you please keep me accountable for this? I give you permission to keep me accountable for this. Well, 2 days from now, or 5 days from now, or a week from now, when the time comes that there's impulsivity going on, or some kind of adultery going on, or some kind of addiction going on, or some kind of irresponsibility going on, and you're like, hey, you gave me permission. This is me keeping you accountable. And you're naively thinking that was actually intended as a real thing, because, if you told someone to keep you accountable, you would actually want them to do that.
Yeah.
And that's when they turn around and call you controlling.
Yeah.
You're just trying to control me. You're trying to control everyone. And you're just like, whoa, wait a second. And there's that gaslighting head spin. Where it's like, you told me to keep you accountable. Now you're calling me controlling and other unflattering names. Like, how does this work?
Yeah.
But, but you're flying free now.
That's right. Flying free. And loving it.
Awesome. Yes. So, what, I know you said it was your personality, but what other things, like if someone else is looking for the courage to speak up, let's say someone is realized and they're getting out, but they want to speak out. They want to help others. How do you encourage them to be able to speak out?
I think it's an organic thing. I mean, when people come into our lives, that's our opportunity to influence them.
Yeah.
I even, I'll always ask, like just a couple weeks ago, I went and had my eyebrows tweezered or whatever. And I was talking to the lady and I was asking her about her life. And then she asked me a question about mine. And, inevitably we ended up talking about, you wouldn't believe how many women out there are in this situation. It's absolutely insanity.
I would.
So it turns out she's a Christian. She's in a bad relationship. She's not actually married to her abuser, but he's living with her and they have 3 children together. So anyway, we ended up, so it was an organic thing. So we ended up talking about it. Here's the thing. You're going to run into people like this wherever you go. And and we all have influence. We all have opportunities to love people. That's really just our job. It all boils down to that. Just reach out and love people. Find out about their lives. Ask them questions about themselves. When they bring stuff like this up, if you're a safe person and they can tell, oh, she's not going to judge me. She's not going to go, oh, well, wow. Oh, well, are you going to church? And are you reading your Bible? If they know that you're just going to love them.
Do you have food? Do your children have diapers?
Exactly.
Do you need a ride to the shelter?
Exactly. Those are the correct questions to be asking. And so, and also in your churches, there's women. I mean, I read statistics that said that 1 out of 3 women sitting in the pews are in some kind of an abusive relationship. Well, that means that's a lot of women. Okay. In a church of, you could have 300 people. That means 300 women sitting in those pews, 100 of them. So you're going to have lots of opportunities to interact with people and women and love on them and open your mouth and share your voice or share your, and as we share, that gives other women the courage then to start opening up their mouths. And pretty soon, I think there's a collective rise of voices happening in our church right now. And
I agree.
And I'm glad. I don't know that we're going to see all of the major changes or shifts in our lifetime, but I think that we are on the forefront. And the fact that there's 2 books now out there, I think 5 years from now, there'll be maybe over 100 books out there that draw these connections.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And I agree with you. There is a tsunami of voices rising. I see we got another. Oh, wow. Yeah. Cindy, the comment that you just dropped, that's really powerful. When they're going through it and they're trying to heal, they're going to get hammered by others. And I wince because they are going to get more abuse. I don't want to shut them down, but I'm afraid for them because it may push them back into the abuse. Just to try to get a break. Sometimes was it you, Natalie, that posted? I know I reposted it. Turning to the unhealthy familiar is often, it feels safer than turning to the courage it takes to go into the unfamiliar, even if it's healthier. Right. That's a bad paraphrase.
Here's the thing though. We don't have to be encouraging them to go out and tell everybody or to go out and, we just letting them, they're using their voice when they tell you their story. You could be the one. I was just talking to a coaching client this morning and she said, I had one person in my life that was my listening ear. I could go to her. She was my one person who was my support. She listened to me. She helped me out in practical ways. I had my sister and that she was my one person. So if everyone even just had one safe person that they could articulate their experience and have that experience mirrored back to them so that they feel like validated, like I am a real person. Oh, my experience is real. Yes. That is a game changer for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one last question. Let's say someone's listening to this today and, oh, wait a second. dark humor. The only thing, sorry, I'm reading that comment. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, the replay won't have the
Oh my
comments,
goodness.
so just
Yeah, okay. So no worries.
okay.
I can clip out the stuff when we're looking at the comments too. Yeah, I can cut that out. Okay, so final question. Let's just say someone is listening to us today, and let's say she's got your book and she just started reading it and she's recognizing herself in the words on those pages. What would you tell her?
Finish the book. The very first chapter, if she's seen herself in the first chapter, then she just needs to finish the book. And at the end of the book, I mean, all throughout the book, I give resource recommendations so she can do further exploring. I recommended all of my, favorite books that helped me over the past 6 years. And then the very last chapter is kind of a what comes next. So it kind of gives her a direction to go next. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I love it. Now I'm just going to put this plug in. If you're watching this and you have not gotten Natalie's book yet, I will put, when I post this on my page, I will put, there it is. Oh, good. She has it.
See, it's a big book. It's got 11 chapters, and it's jam-packed with things that I think can change your life.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you had a copy of it, because mine is the digital copy and I don't have the physical book to hold up here. But my point is, if you haven't, please go get Natalie's book and read it, and then stick a card in it and share it with a friend. Or you know what? One of the things that somebody did for me, because it was a book title I probably didn't want to get caught reading, and that was they wrapped it in a brown paper. They wrapped the cover in brown paper and they handed it to me and dropped it in my purse at church one time.
Great idea.
And so, whatever it takes, after you've read the book, if you know somebody who needs it drop shipped to them, order them another one, or share your copy and have them pass it forward, whatever it takes to get that message out. So my whole point with that is just check the link on this post and get Natalie's book. And Natalie, thank you for taking the time and talking with me and sharing your story. And thank you for writing the book. Thank you for the journey you've been on all of this time and for your courage to speak out. I am just so thankful for you and for the work that you are doing.
Well, it's been a lot of fun talking with you. I want to do it again. Let's do it again.
I do too. Okay, that's mutual. We'll do that again.
And I hope you have a wonderful birthday.
Thank you. I think I heard some light knocking on my door. I should probably go see what kind of things my kiddos have got up their sleeve. So we never know.
Okay, so should I end this now then?
Yeah, you can end it. Go ahead. You can end it. Thank you. How much ice cream will be left, Caitlin says. Probably.